Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to be live with you with my really great friend that we have been corresponding on LinkedIn for the past month or so. And I really wanted to share her knowledge with you. Her name is Shyera McCollough. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes, well, so she is an online business manager, and there are so many people who are running their businesses right now online because we're either social distancing or because they've moved their brick and mortar business online that you may need her services. So I wanted to just ask her to explain exactly what she does and, what kind of things she does for clients, etc. So if you can explain what you do, that'd be awesome.
Sure. So, as Dr. Sandra said, I am an online business manager. And basically, I specialize in creating, maximizing, and implementing customer experiences and team experiences, as well as strategic plans, so that business owners can sustain their legacy and accelerate their business growth. Now, I specialize with helping. I work with online, generational and family-owned business owners and coaches. So I want to make sure that your customer experience is set up to where you can keep getting your clients and you can keep getting your customers, and they have a wonderful experience, so that they can refer you to other people. Because as we know, word of mouth referrals are some of the biggest ways to get more customers and new customers coming in.
Right. Well, I know that word of mouth is super huge because right now you're not really coming into contact with a lot of people. So you're seeing the referrals of people online, whether they're putting comments in different posts or maybe you're text messaging your best friend. And so what exactly is the biggest pain point that you see with online businesses and where they get stuck the most?
A lot of the time, it's just not interacting with their customers at all. So the interaction journey of a business, when they interact with the customer, it doesn't start like when they first send a message. It starts from the time that they hear about you or they see something about you. So let's say you've been posting ads or you do a commercial. As soon as they see that, that's when the interaction starts. So from there, you have to make sure that your interaction, the customer is able to interact with you in a way that makes them want more, that makes them want to engage with you further, that makes them want to ask you that question or find out more about you. And it doesn't just go through there. Like at the end of it, let's say they decide to go on and go elsewhere, but you'll still be in their mind so they can refer you to somebody else who may need your services. And so a lot of the disconnect comes at that interaction point and that exit point. So they all in the middle, you're engaging with them on social media, you might be engaging with them on your website, but that beginning and end are the main points, because that's where the interaction and the experience comes together and works out for you as the business owner.
Right. Well, so when you're talking to businesses, or I should say to people who run businesses, what exactly is something that you say is the first step? Like you got on the call and you did maybe a brand audit or, some sort of, asset, review. What's your first step after that?
So my first step after that, after I've, sat down and really reviewed the processes, and I asked them a question. I always ask, if they have team members, I always ask, hey, does your team know your customer experience plans? Like, do they know what your company represents, who you are, who they're supposed to be under your company? And a lot of the times, for those who have teams, sometimes they're like, yeah, we know, but sometimes they don't. And if you're a business owner with a team, it's essential to know what they're thinking, how they feel about your business. So that first step for me would be getting a better understanding of the team. Now, if it's not, you're a business owner, you're making consistent sales and you haven't quite gotten that team yet, my next step would be, okay, we need to come up with a strategy for you so that your customer experience is on point. Because, sometimes if you're on one person show, it's kind of hard to jump in and be like, hey, hi, thanks for interacting with me and all of that. So, of course, you have to have a plan, and then you have to have those systems to back up that plan.
Right. And systems is where a lot of times, if you're a solopreneur and you are, like you said, doing everything yourself, it is really important to have systems in place so that they're automatically doing certain, cues, if you will. Whether it's, having Zapier, take, somebody who's put information into a form and bring it over to wherever your email, marketing system is, or whatever that kind of systematic, I guess, through line would be a good word, so that you're removed from that kind of manual transmission of information, and you can just focus on what you're good at, right?
Right.
Which is, where you get the ideas for products, or, whatever it is that you're doing. What was something that maybe surprised you when you first got into this kind of role, and you were like, okay, this is what I want to do? What was something that was like, oh, I didn't know I'd be doing that?
The coaching part, really. So for me, I always thought an online business manager was like your cheerleader, your implementer. But then, like, as I started to work with people, I noticed that, like, they needed the coaching, they needed the direction. And it's not that they didn't know what to do, they didn't know how to do it, or which direction to take it. And so for me, I've been doing a lot of coaching inside of that strategy session. And it's actually taught me more about myself. I've been able to coach myself while coaching them. So that's been pretty awesome.
Yeah. And a lot of times I think that when you're thinking about, your business, and because I have my own business, and I think, okay, well, I know what I know. It's what you don't know that is always the hiccup at the end of the day. Like, oh, if I had known that before, I would be, leaps and bounds ahead of where I am right now, which is why it's great to have somebody like yourself come in with nothing attached, like, I think sometimes people get really into the weeds of like, this pen has to have a silver top, and then it has to have a black, whatever. And you're so far into those details that you can't remove yourself. And for you come in and you can say, I see the problem. I can see your problem. It is like, right? Like, it is there. So that's a really big thing for any business owner to say, okay, I'm going to step back and you come in and take a look at where we can fix some systems that are broken, where we can find ways to maybe even save costs, randomly here and there, but also take a little bit of the pressure off, from doing everything yourself. So what are some of the things that you love to do, that are part of your job?
Let's see. Well, I love creating the strategy. I love coming up with different ideas, because for me, one of my superpowers is being able to, when you talk to me, you tell me like what you're thinking for your business. You might not know every piece. You might know just like bits and pieces of the puzzle. I can actually see the full puzzle for you, and suggest some things to see what you think about it. And so when I do that part, like, and you see that light bulb moment that, oh my gosh, yes, I can do that. And it's like, yes, you can.
Right.
So that being able to help is so big for me. Like, it's been instilled in me since I was a little child. So, it's being able to help and see the transformation happening in that strategy session is like the best part of the job for me.
Nice. Well, so you just mentioned growing up. So you're originally from the South, right?
Yes, Bascom, Florida. It's a little small town on the Florida, Georgia, Alabama line.
Well, they're having spring break right now. So do you live there right now, or are you somewhere else?
I live in Sanford, Florida, so about 5 hours away now.
Nice. So we are on opposite coasts. So if you are trying to connect with her, she obviously works virtually. So because I am in LA and we are connecting online. So it is definitely possible. I know that there's a lot of transition that's about to happen with, you know, positive changes as far as, you know, people getting vaccines and people getting back to whatever the new normal is. Where do you see yourself as far as the transition into, you know, later 2021 into 2022? Where do you think the biggest need will be for businesses?
Well, honestly, I feel like the transition to the online space, I've been noticing that a lot of business owners are not like the family owned business owners are not don't have a social media presence, which is okay. However, if
Mhm.
you want to expand even further, being on social media, advertising here, there would be definitely beneficial for them to
Yeah.
get them a bit broader audience and not just have to be, limited to your local communities. And you can actually reach out to other countries and other states and, just expanding your reach, definitely.
And that is huge right now because when
Mhm.
people weren't visiting in-person stores, you know, people were having to take their businesses and go online. And that transition can be hard for a lot of people to really even navigate, number one, but sustain because they are probably busy learning, you know, the processes that are happening. And the sad part that happens with social media is it changes all the time. So once you think you're up to speed, it's like, oh, they changed that, or oh, they added that, or oh, we got to do this now in order to connect all of our systems. So it is a constant learning process, and I'm sure you're helping all of your customers and clients with all of that. So, what's your favorite social platform?
Ooh, my favorite would have to be Instagram. And I think for that is because I can be a little bit more fun on Instagram, but you get more of my personality there.
Yeah.
It's more of a I still am, business oriented, but of course I could put a little sprinkle here and there and then create the graphics because I love doing that too. So
Mhm.
being able to create the graphics that actually speak to my ideal audience while also speaking to me as well.
Yeah. Well, so she's a designer too.
Yep.
So, what programs are you using to design? Are you an InDesign, a Photoshop, an Illustrator, a Canva, a PicMonkey? Like, there's so many different like.
Well, I'm learning Photoshop um, even better because I was playing around with it and it bombed. So I'm learning it.
Well,
And
there's so many tutorials out there, so
yes.
you're probably in good hands.
And Canva is like the biggest one for me because it's so simple, drag and drop. It's quick, and I love that so much.
Yeah,
So.
I love Canva. You have heard me say this on many different programs, but I'm a Canva creator. So if you see my designs, use them because that is so cool to see people using them. When you're thinking about businesses and what maybe is missing, you know, that you haven't seen out there in the marketplace, or maybe different things that you think people should be implementing in their business that they're not. I know that we talked about social media. What's something that you think, as far as the business structure, that you're not seeing a lot of, that people could really take their business from like 0 to 100 if they just did that one thing?
That's a great question. um, Really, honestly, that the whole it comes back to the customer experience and the team experience. Um, a lot of companies that I've been seeing lately, um, they have the team and they have these teams in place, but some of their team members, I guess mainly the ones that handle like their social media accounts, maybe their Google reviews, they don't really represent what a good customer experience is supposed to be.
Mhm.
They might argue with a customer, or they might not even answer them or not read their question and just put in like an automatic response. And
Mhm.
of course, that is creating a lot more havoc. It's causing a lot more stress for the customer, and it's causing the company to lose customers.
Right.
So, having to being able to train the team is what needs to occur. Like, they need to know what a good customer experience is. They need to know the heart and soul of your business so they can understand it. And if the team member doesn't feel that they can, fulfill that role, then we need to look into maybe hiring someone else who can fill that role.
Right.
And
And you know what's really crazy is everyone who is probably providing this customer experience and customer service is a customer,
exactly.
so even if they say they are providing good customer service and it's not, they know deep down what good customer service is, because everybody is a customer at some point, and they've all had bad customer experiences, and
Oh, yeah.
they all have had maybe a really great one where they've like, oh, I got to write a review, or I've got to, tell their manager, like I've done that so many times at restaurants, like pull their manager over and say, she is a keeper or whatever,
Yep.
because it was such a great experience. And I feel like it's such a cop out for someone to be like, oh, well, I don't know what great customer experience is, because you experience this all the time, whether it's the good, the bad, or the somewhere in the gray area of middle. And you mentioned the word training, and I feel like there's so much that gets lost in translation over the internet of communication style, where you might think, oh, well, I answered the question that they asked. And someone might say, but you didn't say please, or you didn't say thank you, or you didn't communicate it, with some sort of enthusiasm behind it. You were just very short. And it's that kind of attention to detail, I think, that sometimes people forget is part of that great customer experience. And I'm just pulling from what you said as far as training. Teams, when you talk about teams, I've seen a lot of people talk about Slack, and I think Microsoft Teams is another one as far as like communicating with their teams. What's one that you think really does a good job at helping people collaborate or get stuff done? I think Asana. I think there's a lot of different ones where teams can use to get project management done, but also better communicate with each other without having email.
Yes. So, Slack and Microsoft Teams are very good ways to do it. It's instantaneous. You can talk to them really quickly and just go on about what you're doing. But Teamwork and Trello are really good project management tools, because you can, put the task in there or put the request in there, and they can see it and get notifications to their phone as well when it comes up. And so, if you're doing a project and it's like a whole bunch of team members, Teamwork is probably the number one, and then Trello right behind that.
Yeah, I think that's so important for, number one, for team members to know how to communicate with each other. Because if you like I've had this happen so many times, where someone responds to me on, from some customer service, and then another person responds to me because they didn't know that the first person responded. You know what I mean? Like there's that weird overlap where that communication internally didn't happen. So then the customer's experience was then kind of like, now I don't think you know what you're doing. And, that whole thing on the other side. So, it's really great to have the internal customer or internal team, communication in like on point, so that the customer doesn't experience your disorganization or miscommunication and all of that. Where do you think, communication and just this online platforms and systems are going? I always like to ask people, like, where do you see us all in like a year? What will we all be doing in a year?
Well, I hope that we will be getting, the communication, learning how to use effective communication and how to communicate with each other. With the way it's going now, it's not looking too good, but I am optimistic and hopeful that we will get to a place where we can effectively communicate with each other.
Yeah. Well, so when you're doing your role as an online business manager, how many clients are you taking on? Like, do you have space if because obviously people can look at the bottom here, I should say over there on her bottom screen, right? That says, how to contact you. Are you taking on new clients right now?
Yes, I am. I have 3 different packages. And so, if you want to work long term, I have a package. If you want to just do a day, where we sit down and I look at everything and we kind of go over a game plan of what you can do. I have that option. And then if you just need like a strategy to get set up with your customer and team experience, I have that as well.
Awesome. So you can find her, it obviously is hername.com. Actually, her name, obm.com. And then also on Facebook, because she's very active on Facebook as well.
Yes.
And LinkedIn, where we are right now. I know we are streaming to YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. So wherever you are enjoying this conversation, make sure that you put in a hashtag, whether it's a replay or live, so that we know when you watched it. And then make sure to check us out on all of the other platforms, because she's putting out great content on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. And so just thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to put up my contact information so that you have it. If you want to reach out to me for any kind of digital media, branding strategy, or anything under the sun, I am your girl as well. And thank you so much, Shyera McCollough, for joining me today. Let me pop back in so I can say a proper goodbye. Where you are in Florida, I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy, and you as well.
Thank you. You too. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you guys on the next one.